My name is Liam. I am 23 years old. I live in a small village surrounded by green hills, wide fields, and a slow river. This village is my home, a quiet place full of nature and simple people. I want to tell you a story about my life. It is a story about a boy who asked big questions about why he was here in the world. It is a story about learning kindness and finding peace inside. Maybe my story can help you too. When I was a boy, I lived in a small village surrounded by green hills and wide fields. The river nearby moved slowly, making soft sounds like a quiet song. Every morning, I woke up to birds singing in the tall trees outside my window. The air was fresh and cool, and the sun would warm my face as it rose. My family was simple, but full of love. My mother cooked our meals with care, and my father worked hard in the fields. I helped them when I could, carrying water, feeding the animals, and sometimes planting seeds. Life was quiet, but it was good. Even as a child, I loved to be alone sometimes. There was a small hill not far from my house where the grass was soft and the wind was gentle. I would sit there for hours watching the sky change colors or listening to the sounds around me. It was a place where my thoughts could grow. I remember the first time I asked myself a big question. Why am I here? I was only 10 years old, but that question came to me like a small seed planting itself deep inside my heart. I didn't tell anyone because I thought they wouldn't understand. At home, we talked about daily things, food, school, or work, but I wanted to know more. Sometimes, when the stars came out at night, I would look up and wonder if they knew the answer. The stars were so far away, but they shone so brightly. I felt small when I looked at them, but also part of something bigger. That little hill, those quiet moments and those big questions stayed with me as I grew. I didn't know where they would lead me, but I felt a gentle hope inside. As I grew older, my question, "Why am I here?" grew stronger in my mind, but still I kept it inside. No one in the village spoke about such things. Life was about work, school, and family. Talking about big ideas felt strange and even a little scary. At school, my friends laughed and talked about games or stories. I tried to join in, but my mind often wandered back to the quiet hill or the stars. I felt alone with my thoughts. Sometimes I wished I could tell someone, but I was afraid they would not understand or might laugh. One afternoon while walking home, I saw an old man sitting on a wooden bench near the river. His eyes were kind and his smile was gentle. I stopped and sat next to him. We didn't speak for a moment. The river moved quietly in front of us and birds flew low over the water. Finally, he looked at me and said, "You seem to carry a heavy question in your heart, young one." I was surprised. How did he know? But I nodded slowly. Many people ask the same question, he said, but the answer is not always far away. Sometimes it lives in small things, kindness, love, and care. I listened carefully. His words felt like a light in the dark. From that day, I began to watch the world more closely. I saw how my mother smiled when she helped a neighbor. I saw how children laughed when someone played with them. I started to think that maybe my life's meaning was not one big thing, but many small good things. Even though I still didn't have all the answers, I felt less alone. After talking with the old man, I wanted to try being kind to others. I wasn't sure if it would change anything, but I felt like I had to try. One morning, I saw Mrs. Nguyen, an old woman who lived alone, struggling to carry a heavy basket of vegetables. Without thinking much, I ran to help her. She smiled warmly and said, "Thank you, Liam. You have a good heart." Her words stayed with me all day. I felt a little happiness growing inside like a small fire, warming me. After that, I started looking for ways to help. I helped Mr. Tran fix his broken fence. I carried water for my grandmother. I even helped little children cross the road safely. Each small action made me feel closer to something I couldn't quite name yet. It wasn't a big success or a prize. It was a quiet feeling of usefulness and joy. The village around me was full of life. The fields were green, the river sang softly, and the hills rolled gently under the blue sky. Nature seemed to watch and smile with me. Even when I was tired or sad, these small acts gave me strength. They became steps on my path to understanding life. But sometimes the question still whispered in my heart, why am I here? One summer, something hard happened in my family. My little sister got very sick. The doctors in our village did their best, but I saw the worry in my parents' eyes. I felt afraid and sad. For the first time, I asked myself, does life have meaning when people suffer like this? The bright days turned gray. The hills didn't seem as green and the river sounded quieter. I sat on my favorite hill, but I did not feel peace like before. I felt lost. I wanted to help, but I did not know how. I carried water, cleaned the house, and stayed close to my sister, but the big question stayed heavy on my heart. One night, I watched the stars just like I did when I was a boy. They were still shining calm and steady. I thought maybe life was not about having all the answers, but about being strong enough to keep loving even when it is hard. I decided I would keep trying to be kind, even if I didn't understand everything. Maybe kindness was the light I needed in the dark. After those hard days, I started to see the people around me differently. Everyone had their own stories and struggles, even if they didn't always show them. I met neighbors who had lost loved ones, farmers who worked in the sun all day, and children who dreamed of a better life. One day, I sat with my friend Min by the river. He was quiet, but I could see sadness in his eyes. "Why do you look so sad?" I asked. He looked at me and said, "Sometimes I don't know where I belong. I feel like no one understands me." I nodded, feeling the same inside. "Me too," I said. We talked for a long time. Min told me that it was okay not to have all the answers. "Maybe we just need to be patient and keep moving forward," he said. His words gave me hope. I realized I wasn't alone in my feelings. We could help each other even just by listening and caring. From then on, I tried to be a friend to others who felt lost. Sometimes that was the most important kindness of all. Sometimes, after a long day helping others or working in the fields, I would find my way back to the small hill near my home. The sun would be setting, painting the sky orange and pink, and the wind would softly brush my face. I liked these quiet moments. Sitting alone, I would watch the stars slowly appear one by one. The world felt big and full of life, but I also felt small, not in a bad way, but like a small part of something very special. I thought about everything I had learned so far. I thought about the people I helped and those who helped me. I thought about the old man's words and the times I felt lost. I began to see that maybe life's purpose was not one big answer, but many small acts of kindness and love done every day. It was a quiet feeling, but it filled my heart. As I grew into a young man, I wanted to share what I had learned. The village children often gathered around me, curious and full of questions. One afternoon, little Mai asked Liam, "How do you know what your purpose is?" I smiled and said, "I don't always know. But I believe it is to live with kindness, help others, and do what makes your heart feel alive." The children listened closely. Some smiled, some looked thoughtful. I told them it was okay to ask questions and feel lost sometimes. Life is a journey, not a race. I told stories about the small things that had made a big difference, carrying food for an old neighbor, fixing a broken chair, listening when someone needed to talk. They liked those stories. I saw hope in their eyes, and I felt proud, not because I was special, but because they understood that small kindness matters. Years passed, and I lived a simple life full of small, kind acts. I woke up each day ready to help my family and my neighbors. I carried food to the old, listened to the stories of the lonely, and smiled at strangers passing by. My life was not famous or full of great achievements, but it was full of love. People in the village knew me as a kind man. They smiled when they saw me and called me wise. but I knew I was just a person who chose to live with heart. I no longer searched for big answers. Instead, I found peace in the small moments, a gentle wind, a child's laughter, a warm thank you. One day, a young girl from the village came to me. Her eyes were bright, but she looked worried. "Liam," she asked, "how do I find my purpose?" I looked at her and smiled. "You don't need to hurry. Live kindly, help others, and do what makes you happy. Your purpose will find you." She smiled and left with hope in her heart. As I sit on my favorite hill now with my hair gray and my steps slow, I feel full of peace. I know that life's meaning is not in big things, but in small acts of kindness done with love. Every life matters, every story is important, and sometimes the quietest heart shines the brightest.